The ruthless words pierced the heavy silence of our top-floor Manhattan penthouse, shattering the illusion of the grand wedding we had celebrated just hours before. I had barely unzipped my immaculate designer gown when my newly wedded husband, a handsome 32-year-old sales manager named Declan, casually reached for the brass door handle to walk out on me. With zero shame in his eyes, he explicitly stated that he was rushing off to comfort his 25-year-old ex-girlfriend Briar, who was supposedly hysterical over our marriage. He condescendingly dismissed my feelings, calling me a 35-year-old corporate shark with a thick skin who could handle being alone, whereas Briar was fragile, young, and needed his physical warmth. He smugly suggested I drink the expensive champagne by myself, assuming my stunned silence meant I was defeated. What he failed to realize was that I had not shed a single tear because his sudden departure was not a surprise. It was the exact catalyst I had spent 6 months patiently waiting for to trigger his complete downfall. As soon as the electronic lock clicked shut, a cold, calculating smile crept onto my face as I monitored the red GPS tracker on my phone while Declan made his way toward Brooklyn. 5 years of secret affair, entire weekends where he brought his mistress into my Tribeca condo, and thousands of dollars stolen from my accounts had all been exposed months ago when I hired a top-tier private investigator. Instead of calling off the high society wedding and enduring public embarrassment, I had carefully laid an absolute legal trap, securing full backing from the one person Declan feared more than death itself, his powerful father, Richard Sr. After confirming Declan's exact location, I placed a quiet midnight call to Richard, who was trembling with fury at his son's absolute betrayal of a successful consulting executive like me. With the patriarch of the family fully on board for a public confrontation and my legal team monitoring every movement, I watched the glittering New York skyline, ready for the execution to begin. Late that night, my phone buzzed with a series of taunting text messages and photos from Briar, showing a shirtless Declan lounging arrogantly in her bed. Shortly after, she called directly from my husband's phone, cackling wildly into the receiver while calling me a dried-up corporate ATM and a total zero as a woman. Intoxicated by her perceived victory, she bragged that their entire relationship was a calculated financial scheme, explicitly stating they planned to siphon away my wealth, take my Tribeca residence, and force me out into the cold as compensation for their wasted time. I remained completely silent, playing the part of a heartbroken bride, while maintaining absolute composure and activating my call recording software. Every single word she uttered was an undeniable, self-incriminatory confession of fraud and conspiracy that instantly uploaded straight to my attorney's secure cloud server. She hung up with an obnoxious, triumphant laugh, entirely unaware that she had just handed me the ultimate smoking gun to obliterate both of their lives down to the bedrock. At 8 o'clock sharp the next morning, the heavy penthouse door swung open, and Declan swaggered in alongside Briar, who was shamelessly wearing a high-end cashmere shawl stolen straight from my closet. Still dressed in his crumpled tuxedo, Declan oozed cheap satisfaction, immediately tossing a rough draft of divorce papers onto the marble table while demanding I surrender my home and investment portfolios as emotional compensation. He scoffed condescendingly at my quiet demeanor, remarking that an aging corporate spinster like me had no sex appeal and was destined to die alone without a man. Briar giggled maliciously beside him, inspecting the luxurious penthouse like a spoiled toddler and demanding they make it their new home while sending me to a cheap motel. They stood there beaming with arrogant triumph, thoroughly convinced they had trapped a helpless corporate woman into total financial submission, waiting eagerly for me to sign away my life. I took a slow sip of my Earl Grey tea, looked them dead in the eyes, and calmly motioned toward the open doorway behind them. Right on cue, Richard Sr. stepped into the suite accompanied by my senior legal counsel and 2 uniformed officers, his face dark with absolute disgust. Declan dropped the divorce papers, as his face turned entirely pale, his knees physically shaking as his father formally announced he was severing all trust funds, disinheriting him completely, and firing him from the family enterprise. My attorney immediately handed both of them criminal complaints for grand larceny and felony extortion, backed by the irrefutable audio, recordings, and private investigator dossiers. Briar began sobbing hysterically. As the reality of prison time set in, while Declan threw himself onto the floor, weeping and begging me for a second chance. I simply smiled, stood up in my tailored silk robe, and stepped past them into the bright morning light, leaving my pathetic ex-husband and his mistress to face the absolute ruin they had built with their own hands. If you found this story satisfying, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more powerful retributions and dramatic real-life stories. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss an episode.